Hi everyone, this is Michelle again from Purposeful Happiness, and I thought I would show you really quickly how I'm making my Halloween cabinet cards. And this is just one sample that I had. I was using a ivory colored cardstock that I had cut out the center and then used some of the, I don't know, what is that called? Rub and buff. I don't recommend that. My hands are a wreck after trying to rub it on and see how it works. But I like the idea of having some silver and black with the theme of Halloween. So it's really easy, and I can't take credit for this. Eva from Bohemian Crafting, this is her idea, and I have just modified it for this particular theme. So I will link her video down below because it's well worth watching. Mine is just an altered way to do it. So the tools that I'm going to use today will be these thinlits. To make it really easy, Hobby Lobby had these paper packs that are 4.5 by 6.5 inches, and they really were suited to making these cabinet cards. But I would also tell you that it's worth using some of your cardstock to make them as well. You get some surprise designs from it. So I'll just walk through a couple. What I first do is I start cutting down the paper. You can do any size. I do 4 by 6. This is like a 3 by 4. Different sizes, so you don't have to stay within that size range. And here's a larger one. All of these fit into different journal types, so it works out perfectly. So what I'll usually do is cut a bunch of them and then put them in a pile in a box, and when I get to needing a cabinet card, I will just pull these out and make one, and then usually change the color scheme to match what I'm trying to do. So the first thing that I would do, and I just had they disappear all the time, the thinlits. I went ahead and I printed out some photos that I wanted to use for these cabinet cards. And the first set I did, I realized were too small for this size of the card. You can tell it doesn't really fit the photo well. So I had to go back to the computer and resize them, make them a little larger. But I also pulled out the smaller thinlit, and I will use that to make these cards as well. So super simple. I'm only going to do, let's try one here. So here's some different textured paper. It's a Tim Holtz collection. And I think what I'm going to do with this one is I'm going to use the small one, because I think that this picture would go really well with this particular one. So I'll just line it up and put on my washi tape. I don't want it to do anything crazy. And the biggest problem with doing this for me is getting the sandwich just right. So let's just put it on top. Just go to here. And I'm just using the Big Shot, but you really could use anything that you have. And I'm just going to run it through quickly. And I'm sure this is not working on video very well, so that's why I did most of this off screen. And then I'll just pull this one out. It's so easy. It turns into a really fun way to make your own cabinet cards. So I'll just set this aside. We will use it again in another part of this. What I found is I was collecting a bunch of these, and it finally just dawned on me that I should be using this pile to make tabs. I have a bunch of journals that I'm trying to do for Halloween, and the tab, if I just fold it in half, works perfectly. And I have black stain all over, so please ignore that. So you can just take these little leftovers, fold them over for your tabs, and really I thought they looked great. I just took a little black ink and off we went. So use them as nameplates, tags, tabs. Perfect. So this is so simple. That's why I definitely don't want to take any credit for this project. So what I do is I kind of play around to see if I like that photo. And I just like the fact that the Halloween bucket sort of matches with the orange in this crackled paper. So what I do is I just turn it over and I just stick a little bit of double-sided tape, which has a dot and a feather on it from, who knows, I just finished the purple witching hour, so I'm sure it's from that project. And then I just double check it, and it's as easy as that. I will go in and glue this together. A lot of times I'll make them in batches and then just put them away, and if I don't use it, then I'll just stick it in my Halloween binder or whatever project I'm working on. Doesn't need much glue, just enough to get it all put together. Make sure the fabric tack doesn't fall out, ooze out. Okay, and I'm just going to, probably should not do that over the top of my photos. And just seal it back in. So you can add a saying down here. Sometimes I wait for that until I know what journal I want to put it in. But I did feel like it looked a little more finished if you just use your corner puncher. And that is it. And I did the same with this one. So the other one I really wanted to do is, let's see, I try to match the tone of the picture with whatever I'm going to try to make. So here's one that I just used some distress ink, some of the tangerine and vintage photo. And so I'll put that one together. That will be one. Another one that I put together, I did a purple one. I don't usually do purple, but I really liked the way the purple brought out the black and white photo. It even popped it a little bit better, I think, than the silver. And so that one will go here. And I thought I'd show you what I do with just my embossed pieces. You can do the smaller ones and just take your embossing, I guess, folder, lay it on top and just run it through the bottom of your smaller piece. That worked. I try to use these embossing folders that are big enough to put the entire card in, so I don't have any seams on it. So maybe we'll try this gray one. And this tree does look kind of like a Halloween piece, so we'll just put it together. So I'm just going to drop it in. And again, run it through the Big Shot. This machine trying to make what I could have put in probably 4 of these sheets of paper. So I just put that back. And I don't know how to describe it other than it's just so much fun to make these because there are so many options for, and this one looks like I did a small one. This one has a smaller, ooh, so I can just barely get in, but I'm trying to decide which one I like best. So you can just kind of play around with them. They are pretty fun to make. Let's do, I think I want to do a larger one to get their costumes. So we'll go with this. This is just barely large enough to work. So I'm just gonna have to move it around a little bit to make sure it's in place and covering what I want it to cover. And again, I'm just going to lock it in place with a little piece of tape And that's just going to hold it just enough so that I can come in and glue the backing on. The embossing folder really adds a lot of dimension and interest to these cabinet cards with very little effort. Unless unless you emboss like I do, and it requires a lot of effort. All right, and then we'll just come back in and pop this on. And that is it. It is really, honestly, that simple. But you create your own cards. So I think what I'll do, sometimes I'll take my ink pads and change it up a little bit. And I should have done this before I put these guys in. So I will take a different one to show you. I don't want to ruin the image. I have this white Brilliance stamp pad, and I'll just come across and highlight some of the flowers here. It looks like I tore a little edge there, but that's okay. I can work with that. And so you can just highlight your embossed images. That would be pretty for a winter scene. Maybe what I can do is I should have thought of this earlier. I'll just put one of these small covers in, and we'll go ahead and see if I can add some white to this raised image. I don't want too much, just enough to show that it's there, because then I'll go back in, since I'm using this for a Halloween piece, I'll go back in with some black for the edges. There we go. Put that away. And I think what I'll do, although really I don't want it to take away too much from the black and white, so I'm just going to come back in and make sure it still looks Halloweenish. So simple. I don't know if I want a little dusting of black. And it's not like I couldn't take this apart and redo it if I end up not liking it, so I'm not too worried. I think that's half of junk journaling, is finding something you like just by experimenting with it. So it's okay. It's not great. It really could use a little bit more. And when I decide what journal it's going to go into, that's probably when I will decide what more I can do to it. But I will definitely round these corners. If I do tall, skinny ones, then I usually, and that's not gonna cut for the moment, of course. That time of day. So I may have to come back in off camera and do this. I'm having all kinds of issues and I don't really know why. There we go. That's better. Maybe it was just a little bit stuck in there. Oh, that one's not going. Let's try this again. There we go. And so I'll just show you some of the embossing options you have, or cards. A whole bunch of them just backed with, you know, blank cardstock. And I will save these until I decide what I want to put in them. And there's the black with the white Brilliance ink just on top, the gray with the white. And then a lot of times I find these old photographs are a little bit colored like a sepia color, and these work really well with that particular color. But that is as simple as it gets, and that is